Hey everyone, how's it going? My name's Blackamora, and you are watching or listening to the Streamcast. I'm so excited to start speaking to the guest of this episode, Mark Backler, the founder of Sketchbook Games and the director of Lost Words, the acclaimed indie title. I want you, if you are watching this on YouTube, to get in the comments and let me know what your favorite book is. And if you can't choose one, let me know your top three, top five, or top 10 books, whether it's comics, manga, or traditional hardback/paperback. We'll include those ebooks as well. What have been your favorite reading material? Because this game is really fun. It's a nice, non-violent, wholesome game. And we're going to get into Mark's past as a gamer and how he transitioned into making games. Stay tuned for the interview.
Streamcast.
Hey yo, welcome to another edition of the Streamcast. I am your host, Blackamora, and today I'm so happy because we have yet another person involved in the games industry to talk to you a little bit about their lives and what they're going through, what it takes to make a game. I'm very pleased to present to you my guest, the talented, amazing Mark Backler.
Hey, thanks very much for having me.
Of course. It was Mark from Sketchbook Games. How you doing?
I'm doing good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thank you for asking. I'm good. So I want to get straight into things with yourself. As you know, Streamcast is a gaming platform by gamers for gamers, and you look like a gamer to me. Do you remember your first ever game and your first ever games console?
So I think the first computer we had was a Commodore 64, and the first actual games console was a Mega Drive. I can't really remember the first game on the Commodore, but I know I liked playing a Donald the Duck game. I remember that quite fondly when you had to build a playground with Donald for his nephews, and then you could switch over and play as the nephews and get to play on it. And I remember playing that with my dad and brother, and fond memories of that.
Oh, awesome. I've always wanted to play a Commodore 64. They just look, I don't know why, they just have a really nice look to them.
Yeah, chunky. It's it was a cool machine. We sold ours, and I always kind of regretted it. I went back and spoke to the people that we sold it to years later because they just lived across the road, and but they'd sold it on to someone else. So yeah, at some point maybe I'll try and pick up one and try and find some of the games. Although half of them I'll probably remember them if I saw them, but I can't remember the names. And a Mega Drive as well. I sold my Mega Drive to buy an N64. It was good to get the N64 and had lots of great times on that. But I do miss the Mega Drive, and so yeah, again, I think I have to sort of try and do some research and figure out all the games I had and buy them back. I've got a SNES that I never had that at the time, but I always played it a lot round my next door neighbour's house and round my friend Sean's house. And so yeah, got some happy memories of playing Mario Kart and Mario Metroid, that sort of thing. So yeah, nice to have the SNES now.
Nice. Those are a lot of great consoles. Have you had the chance to pick up a Mega Drive Mini?
I haven't. No, I've been tempted. I always wonder. It's do I just buy the full thing and get the games that I wanted, or is the Mini easier because it works better on newer TVs and stuff? And so yeah, haven't quite figured that out yet. But yeah, been tempted by the SNES Mini as well. That looks cool because you've got all the games on. I've got a few games for the SNES, but I guess the appeal with those things is that yeah, you get a whole selection of games and it's nice and easy and convenient and looks good on modern TVs. Absolutely. Have you got those?
Have you picked up no. I really want a SNES Mini. So what I did was, when I first saw the SNES Mini, I thought that looks cool, but I don't want it. And then I think a year later, I was like, I really want one, and they're out of stock everywhere.
Right.
So I have to pay a massive premium to get one now, and I don't really want to do that. So I'm still on the lookout for a SNES Mini. I've been able to play. I've been able to play on it at a few places at functions. So places like Four Quarters, which is a gaming bar, and Platform, which is another gaming bar in London. They've been really fun every time I played, so I really want to get one personally.
Mm-hmm.
I'm holding out for that Dreamcast Mini.
Nice, yeah.
Awesome. So you shouted out a lot of good games there. Of course, Mario Kart. Do you have like a top 3 or a top 5 games that you've played?
Yes, I guess probably my favorite game is Zelda Ocarina of Time. I guess also like partly because of the time I played it in my life, and so it makes it quite hard to be. I mean, Breath of the Wild is amazing as well, but yeah, for me, I guess because I played Ocarina of Time round when I was like 14, 15, it's kind of got special memories that it would be hard to beat. But yeah, Breath of the Wild is definitely up there as well. I guess, yeah, a lot of my favorite games are the N64 ones that I played around that age. So GoldenEye, Mario 64, Banjo-Kazooie, probably the like top ones. But then, yeah, so many awesome modern games as well. Like Life is Strange is quite a favorite of mine. That's pretty awesome. Although there's been so many different versions now. I started playing Before the Storm and I haven't finished it. And now there's like
True Colors?
Life is Strange 2 and yeah, Life is Strange True Colors. So I own them, but I haven't got around to playing them yet. So need to make some time. How about you? What are your top 5 games?
Oh, that's a good question. Okay. Off the top of my head, God of War is my favorite game I've played. Nice. The recent one. Mm-hmm. Just because I feel it's the game that has best blended storytelling and gameplay.
Cool.
So I'll try not to make this a whole hour because I could talk about God of War for days, literally.
I played 1 and 2. I think I need a bit of catching up there, and I think I have the new one on the PlayStation subscription stuff. So nice. I need to check that out. I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Got your seal of approval.
Of course, and I tend to be quite conservative when I talk about game stuff with people because I know not everyone's going to like the same stuff that I do, but I will back God of War. I will fight for that game.
Nice.
It's great. I would probably put Sekiro as the second best game I've ever played.
Right.
I really enjoyed that game, and I didn't think I was going to. So during lockdown, my friend Sean got me all of the Dark Souls games. And I hated playing them for the longest time. And then after Dark Souls 3, I accepted that these are good games. They're not for me. I moved on to Bloodborne, which I really loved. That I don't know why that game just clicked for me. I don't know if it was the gothic look or the fact that you couldn't block in the game. Bloodborne was just perfect for me. And then I moved on to Sekiro after, which was even better because of the fast-paced combat. And that just feels how one of those Souls games should play, like quick and everyone just getting their moves in. So Sekiro is up there. Oh man, this is tough. I'm gonna say Sonic Mania because I think that's the best Sonic game I've played.
Right. Wow. Nice.
Do you have a favorite Sonic game?
So maybe Sonic and Knuckles, but yeah, I had Sonic 2, Sonic 3, and Sonic and Knuckles, and thought they were all good. And I bought Mania because I thought my niece and nephew might like to play it, but it was one of those things where like they played it for 2 minutes and then bounced, and then I haven't got around to it. But yeah, it does look like a cool update of Sonic, and there's been a few versions, hasn't there? But that one definitely seemed to have a good reputation for like doing a brilliant job. So I have to put some more time. There's a theme here of all these cool games that I'm not getting time to play.
I mean, I think that's a common thing with all gamers, the dreaded backlog. It's all about how long it is. I just bought Sonic Origins the other day, so I am very much looking forward to actually playing Sonic 1, 2, 3, and CD. So, because I didn't get the chance to play them originally when they came out. So I kind of feel like I missed out, but I kind of feel like this is the best opportunity I am going to get now to play those games and enjoy them.
Cool.
So looking forward to that. Top 5 games. Have I even played 5 games?
It's a good question, isn't it? A hard
tough.
question
Yeah.
to rank. Often people just say your one favorite game, but then that's even tougher, I guess, to have to just be like,
It
oh, this
depends.
one.
Yeah.
It's nice to get to give a range.
Exactly. I mean, I would give a big shout out to Marvel Spider-Man, definitely, because I
Ah,
feel,
yeah, that's amazing.
yeah,
I
that
haven't
is,
played Miles Morales yet because I was waiting till I got it on PS5, but
yeah.
I haven't managed to get my hands on a PS5 so far. So yeah, but I think I'll either just play it on PlayStation Plus on the PS4, or yeah, maybe I will get around to finding somewhere that's got the PS5 in stock and picking it up and then checking that out, because yeah, that looks like really cool too.
Yeah, I mean, I played Miles Morales on the PS5 and I can say it's worth it. It's a short game. It's more like a 1.5 game, but it's worth it because of the inclusion, the amount of effort that they went into. So there is someone who's deaf in the game, and there's like American Sign Language going on to communicate with that person
Awesome.
specifically. So I think the representation is great. It's so good. I think you're gonna make me play it again. I'm gonna play it after this. But yeah, Marvel Spider-Man is such a complete experience. It's so fun, and I think that's what I love most about it. It's not meant to be this, overwhelming, challenging game where you're meant to think 3 steps ahead. You're just meant to have fun with it. You are Spider-Man. You are one of the strongest people in the city, so that it should be replicated in the ease of the gameplay. The bosses just take me back to the Amazing Spider-Man. Kingpin. You got Scorpion. It's like a nostalgia trip, but actually good. So everything about the story, the gameplay, even the graphics, the visuals, they've just been amazing. I haven't touched it since they did the whole. I think they did the face update to make the Peter Parker's face look more like Yuri Lowenthal. I don't know what was going on there. Maybe Yuri, maybe Tom Holland, but I haven't played it since then, so I don't know if that would change my opinion of it. I don't see why it would, but I thoroughly enjoyed my time playing Marvel Spider-Man, and I'd probably put Ghost of Tsushima up there as well, because one of the prettiest games I've ever played. I actually felt like a samurai playing that, and the combat there was challenging enough. It was the right amount of challenging where I wanted to keep going and push on, but also fun and engaging as well.
Cool. Yeah, they did a brilliant job with Spider-Man, like getting all the different costumes in, so you get some of the like background lore, and you can also change between them, and the backpacks to collect that kind of have little tidbits is really awesome. And then just the like swinging around the city as well, they managed to make just getting around fun, so that I don't know about you, but I only fast traveled like once or twice because it was just so much fun to like swing around the city. And so that's one of the best bits of the game. They did a brilliant job with that. I also played the 2D Spider-Man on the Mega Drive. That was a classic one. I had really good fun with that one. I think you've got like 12 hours to complete the game because there's this bomb that you have to defuse. So it was quite tricky.
Nice.
I'm not sure you could save either. So I think you had to do it all in one sitting, and was quite hard. But in that game as well, the swinging had a really nice feel to it, even though it was 2D. But I feel like Marvel Spider-Man was the kind of first one that, I don't know, really captured that so well in 3D. And then with all the beautiful like visual fidelity and everything, it looks really awesome, doesn't it, when you like climb a skyscraper and just chill there and enjoy the view. And
no, for real, yeah, it's such a beautiful game. And after I completed the first mission, I just swung for about an hour and didn't care about any of the missions, any of the side stuff. I just wanted to swing and do all the tricks. And yeah, I was just amazed. I felt like an 8-year-old again. And there's just little things that they've put into the game, like the change of music when you're swinging versus when you're walking or when you're just stationary. And there was one point where I jumped off a really high building, and I tried to swing, and I wasn't it wasn't computing why I couldn't latch onto anything. And then I realized it's because they've actually got the buildings. You have to be low enough to be swinging off a building to actually swing, which obviously makes sense. But in the game, you're like can I cheat this? Can I get around this? So the fact that they thought about that and put things in place to make sure that things are as correct as possible just really
Definitely.
takes it up for me.
Yeah, because on some of the other Spider-Man games, you could just like web sling into the sky, and then
Yeah.
I guess while it feels good to not have to worry about being near buildings, there like you do straight away just think, hang on a minute, this is weird. What am I actually webbing onto? And
Exactly. Yeah, it's something I wouldn't have noticed if they didn't do that, but I definitely appreciate the fact that they've done that.
yeah, it means you've got to think about where you're traveling and your route and stuff, isn't it? You've got to actually plan, not just kind of make a beeline for something. It's like you got to
Exactly.
go around.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Excellent game. I want to talk to you specifically, though, Mark, about the transition from playing games and enjoying them that way to making games. And I want to start off with what inspired you to start making games.
So I guess lots of the games that I played as a kid, and sort of as I grew up enjoying lots of different games, and I always felt like I would really love to make them, but it took quite a while to kind of find out what area I could and would want to go into, because to begin with, I didn't really know loads about making games, but I did kind of want to try programming games even when I was at primary school and with the Commodore 64, but I never really got that far with that. That was a bit hardcore for me. So then, I guess all through my education, I kind of knew I wanted to get into games. So I was quite lucky to know what I wanted to do. And then I studied a games course at Lincoln University, and then a friend of mine had got a job when we graduated working at EA on Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix.
Ooh,
and
nice.
And he told me later on that they were hiring again, so I applied there. And I thought the interview went terribly, but it turned out I got the job. So that was a cool like break into the industry. But when I went to university, I thought I wanted to program games because that was the only area I really kind of knew about, or that people seemed to talk about when they were talking about making games. And so it was only when I sort of learned a bit more. And that role was as a level integrator. So basically a scripter of like using a scripting language that the programmers had written to kind of set up all the missions in Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. And then from there, I kind of, when I had my foot in the door, you get to learn about the different roles. And I felt like design was a really good area, and that I wanted to kind of aim to go that way. So that was kind of the beginning of my journey.
Oh, awesome. I will say, first of all, it's always better for you to think that the interview went terribly and for you to get the job than the other way around.
Definitely, yeah.
So,
same thing with exams as well.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So that's really great that you got your break in EA, one of the biggest companies to work for when it comes to gaming. So I want to talk a little bit about your course. You mentioned some programming languages.
Mm-hmm.
What type of languages did you have to learn? What were the easiest ones to learn, and which ones were a bit more difficult, and why?
Right, sure. So I guess before university, I was looking into C++, and I always found that kind of quite tricky. Then when I started making my own games in Unity, there was C# and JavaScript, so I was sort of experimenting with those. And at EA, the scripting language was written by the programmers in C++, but we didn't have to worry about all the C++ memory management and everything, because it was this kind of simplified scripting language. So it was a bunch of commands of like, this character, go to this point, and then you pass in the name of the character and the name of the marker. And so you had all these different commands like that. So I liked that it was sort of quite straightforward, but it helped teach you the like logic, because you were using loops and things. And then after EA, I went to Lionhead, and there we were using Lua, so like a full scripting language. And yeah, for my game Lost Words, we used C# for that, and now for our new game, we're using C++. So it's been kind of a mix of those. But yeah, for me, I've always kind of struggled with them. Although I think I do still I'd like to play around with them some more. Also, visual scripting is something I get on quite well with. So I've used a few visual scripting tools over the years, like Playmaker with Unity, and now we've switched engines from Unity to Unreal, and so I need to do some tutorials for like picking up Blueprint, because that seems like a really cool sort of powerful scripting language and way to get stuff set up with your games.
Nice. A lot of knowledge dropped there. You just said that you switched from Unity to Unreal.
Mm-hmm.
So is there a way you can explain for someone who isn't so much into the developing side of games how different it is being on Unreal versus Unity?
Sure, yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of similarities between both game engines, but they kind of operate in slightly different ways when it comes to certain elements and the prefabs and stuff. Also, the programming language, I guess, is a huge part of it. Of that, Unreal uses C++, but Unity uses C#. So, sort of which of those you know or prefer might impact that. And I always feel like Unreal does a really good job with its like built-in shaders and everything, so you can get things looking really nice out of the box. Whereas with Unity, it always feels like it's a bit more work to get things to the same level. But yeah, I mean, in general, it's kind of just which environment you prefer and what you get on best with. So it's good to sort of try both out and see what you like. Unity can be really good for mobile stuff because I guess it can do like, you know, things quite lightweight and has always seemed quite geared towards indie games. But Unreal in the last few years seems to have done a good job at sort of updating things and like focusing on the indie end of the market, as well as still, you know, having a strong game in terms of the AAA, because Unreal does still get used for loads of really huge AAA blockbuster titles.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the more notable ones. I think they're both quite notable, to be honest. I think like your average gamer would recognize both Unity and an Unreal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's a really high volume of games made using Unity, and I think it's quite good for. I guess always seemed good for beginners, and always had quite a strong community and lots of tutorials and content and stuff. But I guess I feel that's another thing that Unreal started doing much better than they were in the last few years. And they've got really good onboarding now, and they've overhauled their forums, and now with Unreal Engine 5, there's it's like a fresh start for all of that stuff. But they're putting a lot of effort into all the tutorials and everything. So there's a lot of good content out there.
Yeah. So you briefly mentioned it earlier. Your game, Lost Words Beyond the Page.
Mm-hmm.
What went into that game? Talk to me about the inspiration behind the game. It's a lovely, non-violent, combative game, which is a complete antithesis to all the games that I mentioned earlier. But there is so much great content to be made when it comes to peaceful indie games. What went into Lost Words? Tell me about any obstacles that you came across and overcame while making that game. And talk to us about the game making process.
Sure, yeah. So it started off in the Ludum Dare game jam. So you had like a couple of days to make a game, and the theme of minimalism. And so I kind of wanted to make a game a bit like Tetris, but with dropping words instead of dropping blocks.
Okay.
And you'd have to drop them kind of going up, like vertically up your screen in ascending length order, so that you could jump up them with your character and reach a goal in the top right corner of the screen. But then, so I was making it in the Game Maker engine, so that's even sort of quicker and easier to get stuff together than Unity or Unreal. And then I had physics on the character, but not on the words themselves. So when I ran the game to test it, the character dropped down and landed on the sentence that sort of hung there in the middle of the screen. And I thought, hey, that's really cool. I've not seen that in a game before. So I decided to kind of pivot and do that instead. And then it kind of grew from there. So at the end of the game jam, I had a bunch of interesting mechanics that I was quite happy with. Sort of most, if not all of which ended up in the final game, like many years later. And then, yeah, because it was words, it seemed, I'm a big fan of narrative games, and so it seemed to make sense for it to kind of be in the pages of a journal, and then the character sort of grew from there. And then, yeah, I was talking with a publisher, and they suggested finding a writer, and mentioned a few names, and we got in touch with Rhianna Pratchett, who was interested to work with us, and she'd written like the last couple of Tomb Raider reboot games, and also worked on Mirror's Edge and Heavenly Sword. And yeah, she was interested to work on the project with us, which was really awesome. And so, yeah, when she came on board, yeah, kind of went from there, really. She felt like loss was a really powerful and universal topic. And so, yeah, because I knew I wanted it to be about something that could sort of make a positive difference on people's lives. And yeah, that seemed like a really good way to go. And then, yeah, it just kind of grew from there. And we added like the fantasy world section. So the game's kind of split into stages, like loosely modeled on the stages of grief. And then each chapter starts in the pages of the diary, and then you transition into this fantasy world called Astoria. And so that's like the structure of the game of you hear the real world stuff going on, and then you go into the fantasy world. And the premise of the game is it's about this young girl called Izzy who's aspiring to be a writer, and her gran is helping to mentor her. But then when her gran gets ill, Izzy uses the fantasy world that she's writing about as a means of coping with what she's going through in the real world.
It's beautiful.
Thanks very much. And yeah, I guess we took inspiration from all kinds of different games, like Ori and the Blind Forest was a good one in terms of visuals, and it had, really beautiful cutscenes and narrative elements. And then, yeah, kind of lots of other 2D games, but also, yeah, I mean, like Life is Strange came out partway through development and had the really nice aesthetic of the journal stuff and the doodles, but we already had like the watercolor stuff for that. But then it was, yeah, nice to see a game doing that really well too. And Child of Light was another one that came out sort of while we were developing it, and did a bunch of things that we were trying to do, of like female protagonist in this fantasy world, and using words in an interesting way. So yeah, sort of tried to look at like a broad range of titles, really, as well as non-games and films and stuff. Things like A Monster Calls was really good, because that's like a very emotional film, sort of similar subject matter.
So I definitely feel the narrative leaning side of you through the game, even the trailer. It's a very important part of the game, and I feel that is something that video games have taken to very well in general, the industry. You can have these really great stories told, but almost not trick, but almost spoon feed it to the gamer in the kind of way that they don't realize that the story is being told to them until they get to the end and they look back and the entire journey has been, oh wow, started from here, got to here. And I think it is a really great initiative that you've done here, being able to take something that is traditionally quite a negative thing and taboo, and people don't like to talk about it, and there are ways to deal with it. There are people out there who care. There are healthy ways to deal with what you're going through. I think, yeah, just an
Definitely.
amazing job. I wanted to just give you your kudos for that.
Thanks very much.
So, Sketchbook Games, how did you get involved with that company? How is Sketchbook Games different to, a Lionhead or an EA? And what are the pros and cons for working for a larger studio versus working for a smaller one?
Sure, yeah. So when I was working at Marmalade Game Studios in London, I was a lead designer there, and that was when I did the Game Jam when Lost Words originated. And then I liked the concept, so I kept on working on it in my spare time. Then I took part in this course called the Games Quarter, and you could do a practice pitch for your game that you were working on, which I did. And then one of the other people there was working for a games publisher, and they were interested to offer some funding. So I ended up quitting my job to take that. Ended up not taking that funding, but applying for some other funding through the Wellcome Trust and Creative England. And so those were the funds that sort of helped me get the game off the ground and hire other people to help out with it. And so, yeah, the company is small. There was 12 of us at the peak of Lost Words development, and then everyone sort of had other projects to move on to as we did the porting for the other platforms for it. And then so now there's just a couple of us working on the new project, but then we'll scale up again sort of as we develop things with that. And so I guess, running your own small studio is quite different to EA, and noticeable differences. There's no IT department or HR department to help with hiring people. And when your computer breaks down, you've got to sort it yourself. And so I guess I've got a lot better at that sort of thing since being independent. And but you do miss the working with a big team of people. And I did really enjoy my time at those studios. We had a Lionhead reunion recently, actually. That was really nice. It was like a Lionhead Bullfrog and 22 Cans reunion in Guildford. So yeah, it was really awesome to catch up with so many people that I used to work with and sort of hear about what they're up to now. Some of them I've still seen, you bump into at different events at Develop or GDC or something. But then, other people who maybe don't go to loads of those things or just haven't happened to bump into them. So it was a really nice evening, and tricky to speak to everyone you wanted to speak to because there's so many people there. But I guess it feels like when you're independent, the highs are higher, but the lows are lower, I guess. And it feels like even more of a roller coaster. Whereas when you're at a big company, you still feel the ups and downs, but just not to the same extent. So it's definitely like a more extreme roller coaster when you're doing your own thing, really, because everything's just that much more personal.
Yeah, I hear that. That makes a lot of sense. And I guess those highs are very high because you feel like you've personally done everything you can to get those wins.
Yeah, although, I mean, sometimes it's hard to take the time to kind of take stock of that thing, because there's always, another problem or challenge or something up ahead. And, even when you secured some funding or something, it's like that's only going to run for so far. And so, you've got to be, always looking 6 months to a year ahead at least. And making sure you can scale or grow or finish the game or do whatever is the main priorities. It can definitely be tricky. And I think a question you asked earlier that I didn't quite answer is the biggest challenges. I think that it ties into that of funding. I think probably one of the hardest things to get the money to develop the game. Firstly, to the stage when you can pitch it and get publisher funding, and then getting that publisher funding or investment or whatever other funding model you choose, definitely be tricky because there's so much competition now. All these really awesome game engines make it easier than ever before to make games, but it means that there's more competition than there's ever been on all the different platforms and for all the different publishers. So it definitely can be quite challenging. And and when you get a talented team as well, people with experience, it's like they're expensive, and with the state of the economy at the moment, and it's like everyone needs good good salaries or good day rates in order to be able to kind of keep up with inflation and everything. So that can be tricky, because also games, because of that competition, it's like games aren't always as successful as they would have been like a few years ago, and the market's always changing. So it's like just getting a game out doesn't sort of guarantee that it's going to do well financially, and it always seems to be getting harder and harder, and more importance on not just making an incredible game, but also doing an amazing job of marketing it and actually raising awareness and kind of good knowledge of the different platforms and their algorithms and what you need to do and not do to make sure your game stands out.
Hey there. I don't mean to take you away from the podcast I'm sure you're enjoying for too long, but I just wanted to take this brief moment to thank you. Whether you've tuned into our podcast, you've watched any of our live streams, or you've attended an event of ours, you've all contributed to the success of the Streamcast, and we are eternally grateful for your support. I'm here to let you know that there are more ways that you can support the Streamcast, namely our Patreon. If you go to patreon.com/streamcast, there is all the information that you need to know about how you can support us. And I'd like to take this moment to thank Spilt Milk Studios for being our official Patreon. Make sure to follow them on all the platforms you can, because they are a fantastic indie gaming studio full of amazing people. To find out how you can get a shout out just like Spilt Milk, or if you want to know about any of the other perks you can get, make sure to go to patreon.com/streamcast. Yeah, that's more knowledge, more great knowledge from you there, Mark. I think funding, as someone who's never developed a game, I think funding is probably the first thing that I would say that is even an obstacle, maybe a hurdle, that a lot of developers who try to go into business for themselves and make their own game really struggle with. And I mean, it seems like you were successful in getting quite a few funding applications through and some grants. Do you have any tips or tricks that could help any aspiring developers who might be watching or listening to this pod wanting to make their own game? Do you have any advice for them when it comes to applying for grants or stuff like that?
Sure. Yeah. So I guess I would say just like get started and, bootstrap, make something, experiment, test it out on people, see what works and what doesn't, and just keep on iterating and making it better and better. And like the better the game you can make, the easier everything else is. Like if you have a really strong demo, then pitching to publishers is going to be easier. Getting grants and stuff, if you've got something that's getting some traction, it makes that easier. Like if you can, take it to a showcase or win an award or get some good press coverage or something, then that stuff all sort of helps your case. So, you're not gonna make that progress without just getting stuff done on the game and giving it a go. Sometimes people, they overthink things quite a lot, and they're trying, they want everything to be perfect, just like it is in their head, but that's always tricky to you just need to get started and iterate lots and test lots. I think those are the main keys. Like I don't think I'm really the best designer or anything, but with Lost Words, what went right was certainly with the beginning half of the game, that like we tested it a lot, we took it to a lot of shows, we got a lot of feedback, we saw lots of people play it, and so that allowed us to kind of improve things and just make all these changes that made it better and better. And also it's quite inspiring. Sometimes watching people play can give you a new really good idea, or sometimes people when playing the game they said, oh, it would be cool if this, or a friend of mine played it and said, oh, it would be cool if when you stood on one of these words everything turned upside down. And I was like, yeah, that would be cool, and then put it in the game, and it's a really awesome section of it now. So you don't get that without just like making something and putting it in people's hands. And I think sometimes people can be kind of too secretive about stuff, or just they they think about it so much and want it to be perfect, but then don't actually get started doing stuff. And unless you're, in the trenches and giving it a try and seeing what works and what doesn't, then you're not gonna learn, and you're not gonna make the best thing that you can.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, in terms of the funds, there's a whole bunch of new like prototyping funds springing up, like especially if you're not in the kind of mainstream demographics of normal game developers. There's like, I think Robot Teddy might have a fund, and Kowloon Knights are really good for funding cool projects. And yeah, I guess it's worth looking for like local grants and things, because depending on where you are, I'm in like Suffolk or and the company's in Essex, and yeah, there's some good regional grants. But yeah, getting the kind of initial funding is often the tricky part, and then when you've got like one first lot of funding, then sometimes other funds you can kind of match fund against that and stuff. UK Games Fund is really good. There's Transfuser for kind of student graduate teams, and then the UK Games Fund itself, which we received for Lost Words. And then when you do have some money and you're paying yourself and other people, you can claim video games tax relief. So you get like 20% of the project costs back. So that can be a big help.
Right.
And Creative UK has some really good funds and game developer support programs as well. They've got an accelerator for kind of new, inexperienced teams. Well, they've got a couple of different levels. They've got the one for the new teams. They've got one for like their game scale up for sort of bigger teams that have been running like a couple of years and got a project or two out. And then they've got their kind of one for people looking for investment for like bigger and kind of sustainably profitable companies. So yeah, there's lots of good options with them. And Tentacle Zone through Payload Studios has a really good accelerator as well. That's really worth signing up to, and they've got a focus on like minority developers not represented in the industry. And so yeah, they've had some really amazing cohorts and really cool teams and great projects coming out of that. So yeah, there's definitely some good initiatives over here. We're quite lucky in the UK that there's sort of more funding and more support and accelerators and things than in lots of other countries.
Yeah, no, that much is definitely true. I feel like the government isn't doing its best to make sure that the creative industry is, blooming the way it should be. So a lot of companies are actually making moves themselves to make sure that they're helping as many different developers as possible.
Yeah, the video games tax relief is one thing that the government is doing that does make a big difference. But I think people are lobbying to kind of improve that even more, because I think it doesn't quite match the tax reliefs in like Canada and France and other places,
right.
but definitely does help. And then the BFI are doing funding as well. So they have their global screen fund that we've received for our new project. And yeah, they're like a really great team and work with kind of an awesome variety of different projects. So that's another good one to look into. I think actually they might have just opened their like the applications for the window for the Global Screen Fund. So yeah, people have a project, then it's definitely worth looking at that.
Oh, very nice. Again, more nuggets from Mark. I will try my best to find links to all of these places and put them in the description or on the screen or something. I will make sure that you will be able to find those and apply for that funding, get your project made. You said that something very important, Mark. When you have previous success, it makes it easier to get more support. So when you get awards, when you have a banging demo, it's easier to get more support. And Lost Words is a game that has won awards. Do you know off the top of your head any awards that you've won, and do you have any favorites? Are you looking to get some more?
So we won a Develop MCV award. That was really cool because we actually got to be there in the UK at Brighton for the ceremony, and then we won a games or 2 Games for Change awards. That was really cool. Unfortunately, that was during the pandemic, so we couldn't fly out to New York for that. But yeah, it was brilliant to be honoured by that. And we're also nominated for the Independent Games Festival. So yeah, I guess that's something that when I've gone to GDC, I've gone and watched the IGF awards, and you always think like, one day could we be a part of this? And so yeah, again, didn't get to be there in person, but yeah, to be nominated was really amazing. And yeah, maybe for the next game we can make it even better and manage to win that. And yeah, so yeah, we've been very very lucky and had a whole range of different awards. So I guess that's another tip for people of just like entering lots of these things, like looking out for them and making a list as well. Even before you're ready, like you can write down the dates when certain awards like open and close, and I kept like a spreadsheet of stuff to track what ones to apply for and when. And it does take a bunch of time, but it can be good to to go for those things, because even sometimes when you don't think you'd have a shot, you can sometimes you'd be surprised, and it's kind of a jury of people and you never know what they're gonna pick. So there's been some when we've been up against really established like AAA titles and you don't think you stand a chance, but then been lucky enough to win some of those. So I would say like go for it and take those chances, and then it can help. I guess probably one of the favorite awards was when like we went to Gamescom in Cologne with the games industry trade body for the UK, Yuki, and so we were on their business stand, and then I didn't realize, but they picked a game of like a UK game of the show, and so we got picked as Yuki's UK game of the show, and so that actually led to us getting our publishing deal, because Seth Barton from MCV Develop interviewed me, and I wasn't sure whether to be so brazen as to say we were looking for a publisher, but I thought, oh, what the heck, let's go for it, and mentioned that. And then Maximum Games, or Modus is their indie label, saw that article and got in touch, and then we met up at the next event, and ended up signing Lost Words with them. So that was a meaningful award that made quite a big difference for us.
That's amazing. I feel like there's been a lot of skill and opportunity when it comes to a lot of the stuff that you've said there, a lot of your success. First of all, congrats on all of those awards. Amazing stuff. And hopefully many more are in the future. Did they mail over your award from the New York show?
Yes, we got two award statuettes for that, and they're really nice, like crystal ones. So they're on prominent display.
Oh, nice in the office.
We work remotely, right. And this is my office in here, but they're actually downstairs in the spare room, because it's kind of they're a bit more on show for the rest of the house there. But I'd like to get an office at some point and put them in there. At the moment, we've got some like public office space, like Lost Words. A lot of it was developed at the University of Essex at their innovation hub and games hub, and now we've got some space at the Waterfront Innovation Centre at the University of Suffolk. But they're public things, so I can't list them with a bunch of awards. But one day when we have our own office space, it'd definitely be nice to be able to do that.
Of course, I mean, and they're your awards. Let's be real; they shouldn't be going to any public space. So of course that is all great, and the chance of being able to speak to a publisher, and a lot of this stuff is going to sound obvious when we say it, but shoot your shot, ask the questions, closed mouths don't get fed. You never know. The worst that they can do is say no. It's always worth betting on yourself. Believe in yourself, believe in your work. If you think it's good enough, other people are going to think it's good enough as well. So make sure you get the message out there.
Definitely, yeah. And something you said also reminded me of Alexander Bruce's talk about his game Antichamber that he gave at GDC. And the talk was titled Antichamber, an overnight success 7 years in the making, because it was like often people, see this success and they're like, oh, he got so lucky. And it's like, yeah, luck is an element, but it's the luck that you make. He got like special Unreal featuring because he was on Twitter looking for stuff, and he saw someone mention this thing, and so he applied for it and he got it. But it's like, yeah, if he didn't apply for that, if he wasn't looking for those things, then he would have missed that opportunity. And he took lots of shots. He didn't hit with all of them, but you only can see the ones that did hit. So yeah, absolutely, exactly like you said, of taking those shots and making your own luck. Like acknowledging it that there is luck involved, but it's like luck that you can make by like researching and doing things and looking for opportunities and speaking to people and seizing all the chances that you can.
Yeah, I mean, luck is of course an important factor in any success story. You got to be at the right place at the right time, meet the right people, say the right things, but it's not dumb luck. You have to be skilled. You have to know what to say. You've had to put the work in, hours, money into making the game Lost Words. Sorry. You've had to put the hours in. You've had to have those conversations. These things are very much intentional as much as luck. So you are right. A lot of people will just see the success story. They'll see your game plastered on buildings or on YouTube and all of this and think, oh, it must be nice. But they don't see the hours, the grind, the tears, the arguments, the sweat that goes into making this. So I think that's just something that people need to bear in mind. Overnight successes are very rare, and it's unlikely you're going to be one. You're going to have to put the work in. Even your favorite YouTuber, your favorite content creators, they've had to put in years of work to get to where they are now. So it all is worth it. It's all organic, and just feel part of the process.
Definitely, yeah. I saw a really good talk with a bunch of well-established YouTubers, and they were talking about some of their processes of that they experimented with different types of videos and when to post and all these. They paid a lot of attention to their stats and like researching and sort of being smart about what they did. And like sometimes there was a certain type of video they loved to make, but it took like way longer than the ones that were easier and had much better responses, and they noticed themes and trends and things that people were into. And so yeah, it was really interesting to just hear like all the kind of depth and detail and nuance that they go into. Sometimes you think it's just about like being on a stream and saying some funny stuff and having a zany personality or something, but it's like, yeah, that was really interesting to see that these guys are super successful because they care about all the details and they put in a lot of work, and they do all this stuff to make that luck.
Absolutely. With YouTube, it's such a hard market, and similar to your experience with games, it's become a harder market to crack over the years because more people have the knowledge. Resources are cheaper. I mean, people can go on YouTube to figure out how to be successful on YouTube. So, there's a whole metaverse there. And with more YouTubers, with more resources, with more competition, it becomes much harder to organically grow to the point that you'd like. So it's just another obstacle. And I think that's just the way the world is going. We are much more headed into an entertainment kind of world. And that's just one of the things that comes with it. Again, you got to focus on your USPs. There is a lot of focus and stats that are involved, like the talk that you went to. You have to be very focused. You have to treat it like a business if you want this thing to be long-term and successful. It's not just saying wacky things, because people have found out that doesn't work. That gets you cancelled. So it's a targeted business plan. It's looking at your stats. It's looking at what times work best. look at your favorite content creator, look at your favorite developer, and just study them, see how they do things when they release, when they announce stuff, just everything, just study them, be a student of the game. And that is probably the best advice that I could give you without having any prior knowledge of anything.
Definitely, yeah. And I guess those skills of like building a community and a following are kind of useful for more and more jobs and roles these days. And if you ever want to start, you know, any kind of your own business, then that sort of thing is going to be useful of like, building that community, good social media presence, and for lots of jobs as well. It's like if you've got, you know, an established audience, then that's a big plus when you're applying for things. So definitely really useful skills to have for lots of fields these days.
100%. And every successful business deals with people in some way, shape, or form. So you have to be good at working with people, network, be nice. All of these obvious little things I'm saying really go a long way, because people talk. The industry is smaller than you think it is. And, you know, first impressions count. Be nice.
Definitely, yeah. Very sound advice. And heard some people saying that even with like solo developers, you know, you don't get a game on a platform on your own. It's like that takes working with different people and platform holders and other teams and all this stuff. So it's like, yeah, and it's very rare that one person does everything on a game anyway. So it's like, yeah, having good team working skills and communication like will go a long way.
I would like to see someone who's actually made the game from themselves by scratch and see the game, because that sounds very difficult.
It definitely is, yeah. And I mean, some people do it really well. Like Lucas Pope did an amazing job with Papers, Please, and like, I mean, the music for that is brilliant. And often where people might be like a solo developer, but get someone else to do the music, but he did an amazing job on the music himself. And but yeah, he's definitely like you know, the like in the minority there of being a solo developer and so talented and managing to get the success that he deserves.
Yes, of course. All the plaudits go to him. And plaudits again go to you, Mark, with the success of Lost Words. And I know when it comes to like the game making business, you do maybe get like a day to be like, oh, we did that. And then it's like, okay, next game. Is there a next game in line for Sketchbook Games? How much can you tell us if there is going to be a future game?
Sure, yeah. So we're working on a new project, and like with Lost Words, we felt like we wanted it to be something that could have a positive difference on our players. And so we're looking at the topic of mental health and anxiety. It's going to be a first-person narrative game, kind of walking sim, but with puzzles built in, and a few different elements as well. So sort of a good stage of prototyping that and figuring out what works and doesn't, and learning Unreal at the same time as well, which is tricky because I'm wearing lots of different hats. So you're sort of trying to juggle the business things and still do some of the like supporting Lost Words, but then also like making progress with this new game. So it's tricky to like find time to do a bunch of tutorials and learn some new skills, but definitely does make things easier if you can kind of jump in engine and make stuff happen and try things out yourself, rather than having to say to other people like, try this thing, oh no, that doesn't work, how about this, how about that? And that's sort of my aim at the moment, to make a bit of progress with my Unreal skills, because with Unity that worked well for Lost Words, of like I knew the engine, and so I could kind of prototype and got the base mechanics through trying lots of things and seeing what did and didn't work. So kind of need to get back to that place with Unreal, and it is always enjoyable as well when you're actually in it and just sort of having a play around and trying cool things and seeing what works and what doesn't. And that's when you get those happy accidents as well, like that led to Lost Words, of like I was trying something else, but something interesting happened instead. And then you think, yeah, actually, that's cool. Let's use that.
I think it's just one of the skills that makes game developing such a really cool art form for me. On outside looking in, I think that adaptability and all the transferable skills from other businesses and other developing languages, I think that really blends, and you just become like a super problem solver. Like something happens in your game and you're like, that's not supposed to happen. What am I doing here? Do you scrap everything? Do you try to make it work? Do you just go with it and hope that works out? There are a lot of problems and a lot of decision trees that go into this kind of thing that I'm sure you're going to be very familiar with already, and I'm hoping that you get every bit of success with this new game that you have with Lost Words, and even more so.
Thanks very much.
Do you have any titles? Do you have like a release window? Is there anything you can tell us about any final projected plans with this new game?
So we're hoping for a development schedule of about 2 years, but it kind of depends on when we get funding for it. So yeah, we're working on a demo at the moment, and then we'll be pitching publishers, which can take kind of up to 6 months or even more sometimes. So yeah, it'll be a little while, but nothing else official to announce just yet. But yeah, hopefully we'll be in a point to start speaking more about it soon.
That's fair enough. Yeah. All right. I know that you are a busy guy, Mark, so I'm gonna let you get on with things. Hopefully, we can have you on again once the game is close to finalization, maybe close to release. It'd be lovely to have you on again.
Sounds
If
brilliant.
anyone would like to follow you, how can they find you? What are your socials?
Sure. So I'm at Mark Backler on Twitter and most other social media, I think. And Lost Words is at Lost Words Game on Twitter. And we also have a Facebook, which is the same address, and Instagram, which I think is the same address, but we don't tend to use loads. We've also got a Sketchbook Twitter, which is Games Sketchbook. And yeah, Lost Words is available on Steam, Stadia, Switch, Xbox, PlayStation, and it's currently on Xbox Game Pass and PlayStation Plus Extra at the moment. So yeah, people can check it out on those.
Oh, excellent. You hear that? There is no excuse. Get on your console and get Lost Words, especially if you have Game Pass. It's a banging game. Thank you very much, Mark, for jumping on the pod.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. And you can keep up to date with the Streamcast by following us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, Streamcast_. If you are watching this podcast on YouTube, please give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to the Streamcast and tap the bell so you get every video as soon as they go live. And our podcasts are available on all major platforms, including Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So just search Streamcast on your favorite platform and subscribe. We also have a Twitch, Streamcast TV, where we stream Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays in the evening. And we have a website, thestreamcast.co.uk, where you can subscribe to our newsletter so you get updated as soon as we put out a blog post or an event is announced. Until next time, please take care of yourselves and your loved ones. Stay safe, and we'll see you on the next Streamcast.